Hey guys, this is becoming a recurring theme here weekly. What the fuck, Stannis? So, Season 5, Episode 9, The Dance of Dragons. Of course, to play off the last book in the series. And again, this has multiple meanings going through the show. So it started with Stannis' camp up north, and he is camped somewhere between Winterfell and the Wall, and he seems to be in pretty bad shape with the snow coming down and his men freezing to death and running off that we talked about the last episode. So I don't want to go in chronological order this time because we want to talk about the two scenes last. I want to get to that. So we'll go to the Wall real quick. We had Jon coming back from Hardhome. He has the wildlings, or what's left of the wildlings, with him, and he of course goes up and stares up and sees Alliser Thorne. And he's looking down with contempt now. Again, this has been kind of a dicey relationship. You know, he had seemed to start respecting Jon Snow a little bit. Now there's kind of two factions up at the Night's Watch. So you got Jon, who's now letting the wildlings through the Wall, and they did actually open the gates, so it wasn't quite a mutiny yet, although I do think that's coming next episode. And of course we had the shot of Ollie standing there when he came out and saw the wildlings crossing and going through, just standing there with contempt for Jon now, which Ollie, I think, is going to become another hated character very soon. I think they'll focus on that next episode. But you had the little scene where Alliser Thorne comes up beside Jon and said, "You have a good heart, Jon Snow." And that's, to me, kind of signifying maybe what's going to happen in the next episode. But they kind of kept that short and sweet because they wanted to focus more on the Stannis storyline this episode, and of course the Dany storyline as well over Mereen. And we had a small segment down to the south in Dorne with Jaime. Jaime's now been apparently freed along with Bron under certain conditions. Marcella gets to go back with Jaime as long as Prince Tristan gets to go with her and sit on the small council. So Illyria immediately is pissed off because he's essentially breaking bread with a Lannister who she hates, and she still wants revenge for Prince Oberyn. This is not as easy as it seems. So he may let Jaime go back to King's Landing, but him sending Tristan with him is to be part of the council and keeping the marriage intact. This is part of a bigger kind of master plan, so to speak. Then you had a short scene with the Sand Snakes fighting in prison. It looks like they're not getting along too well, and then Bron of course gets released under one condition. That one condition was simply payback for hitting this prince, and he got his fucking jaw broken. So I think that's a pretty easy out, if you ask me. So they're apparently free now to go back to King's Landing, and we'll see how that story develops. I think that'll get more into next season. But at the end, you did see Illyria kind of bend the knee to Doran and pledge her allegiance to him. However, that doesn't mean that she's just going to quit and give up her revenge plots with the Sand Snakes. They were introduced this season. It was kind of a letdown because they didn't really do much. They had one little quick fight scene. They've been in prison ever since. And I don't think that's the end of the Sand Snakes and the Dorne storyline. I think that'll be more of a season 6 storyline. And then we go over to Arya, and she is still on her mission training with the Men Without Faces under Jaqen. She is on her mission to gather information on the Gambler, and she has the little vial, we're assuming, of poison to possibly kill him. But then she sees Lord Tyrell and the Kingsguard Mereen Trent show up. They just happen to get off the boat right there, and of course Mereen Trent is on her kill list. So she's going to have a hard time letting go of the Arya Stark stuff now, and she actually followed them into a brothel, and now she is on his trail, and she essentially went back to the House of Black and White and told Jaqen, basically lied to her, and convincingly lied to her because she passed the game, because the Game of Faces is learning how to lie and lie convincingly. So she actually lied to Jaqen and didn't get slapped and said that the skinny man wasn't hungry today. So that was basically to throw him off because she now has a revenge plan to kill Trent, because he of course is the one who killed Syrio, her dancing master, when she was still in King's Landing when Ned Stark was still Hand of the King. She is going to have a hard time. Even though she thought she wanted to be an assassin and a faceless man, she's going to have a very hard time letting go of her past, letting go of her identity of Arya Stark and her kill list. So she is going to pull Needle out, I'm assuming, and stick him with the pointy end. So quickly back to Stannis. So now he has talked himself into following Melisandre's advice and sacrificing Shireen. This was a horrible scene. And it's Game of Thrones, and you think, okay, I've watched Game of Thrones now for 5 seasons, I shouldn't be shocked, but you're shocked every fucking time. That's what they do on this show. They take these characters Stannis, you really didn't have a feeling for either way. Most of the time, he was just kind of a hard ass. You didn't love him, you didn't hate him. And then the last few episodes where he went up to the wall and he saved the Night's Watch from the Wildlings and Mance Rayder. He's the only one in the whole kingdom that responded to the ravens that the Night's Watch had sent out about the White Walkers and the real threat up north. And he's the one that actually seems to give a damn about the realm, yet he's letting this red witch bitch talk him into burning his own daughter. I mean, the last time they did this with Gendry with the 3 leeches, they got a few drops of blood and a lot of shit happened, or so they believe. So if they believe that, I mean, can't you just fucking cut your hand and, you know, get a cup of blood and do something? You have to burn your daughter. His trick-ass wife, Selyse, all of a sudden she gives a damn. I mean, her whole life, Shireen's been locked up basically in a cell because she has a damn rash on her face. And now all of a sudden she gives a damn when she sees her burning at the stake. So again, before this, she sent Davos back to Castle Black to replenish supplies and bring more horses for their remaining journey to Winterfell, which I believe we'll see more in the season finale. And of course, that was to get rid of him because he was the only one that was going to stand up and say, oh, hell no you ain't, and he would defy him. So now, my question to you guys with that piece is, what do you think Davos is going to do when he finds out, when he comes back and Shireen has been burnt? Do you think he's going to stay with Stannis? Now, they did try to throw in the conflict here. I mean, they had the conflict with Stannis, so he goes in the tent with Shireen, talking about destiny and what you have to do to fulfill that destiny. And he basically had to choose between love of family and his supposed destiny. Why the fuck can't she just make another fucking shadow Stannis and send it on and kill the Boltons in their sleep? When they do make these sacrifices, shit seems to happen in their favor, and it looks like from the preview from the next episode that essentially this sacrifice causes a little bit of global warming and winter lets up for a few minutes, or at least enough time for them to go down to get to Winterfell. The Lord of Light has granted you passage to Winterfell so you can siege it and take the Iron Throne. But again, this scene right here, I can see what they're doing. They always do this in this show, of course. They make you love somebody or at least respect somebody and kind of pull for them a little bit, and then they just cut your damn throat. A completely different character from the books for you TV only watchers. The Stannis in the books is kind of a different guy, so they're going a different direction with him. So I'm not sure how this plays out, because now you want him to go kill the Boltons, but now he's such a dick, you kind of want him to die. You have Brienne still waiting, who wants revenge on him for killing his brother. So it's just one of those things where there's so much conflict going on in Winterfell and up north, you just don't know what the fuck you want to happen. So then, of course, we go over to Dany's storyline. She has reopened the fighting pits, of course, and she is sitting there in front of this awesome big coliseum. It kind of reminds you of the Roman gladiator days, and the pits are opened. She's sitting there with Hisdar and Dario, and Dario is really, really jealous and telling her who to bet on, and that was kind of a funny scene with them arguing a little bit. And Tyrion's just kind of sitting there silent, and that was odd, until he starts talking to Hisdar and kind of feeling him out a little bit. Of course, Hisdar was late, and she was like, where have you been? Oh, making sure everything was good. So that told me, okay, he's still connected to the Harpies, although in this scene when the Harpies attacked, he did get stabbed. That really didn't answer that question. You thought immediately when he was late that yes, he was the leader, or at least helping those guys. I don't think he's just injured either. He got stabbed pretty damn good in the chest, but I think he's pretty much dead, so fuck off Hisdar. Dany's watching the pits, and she claps, and it starts the fights, and then a couple decent fight scenes, and then of course Jorah shows up, and this time no helmet. He just begs to fight for the queen, and she grants it. So she's kind of like, okay, let's just see what happens. He's really showing me some devotion here. He wouldn't be back again, but I've told him twice not to leave. He's come back for the third time. I'm going to let him fight and see what happens. But then she's kind of pulling for him, so he's kind of getting his ass whipped a little bit, and she's kind of pulling for him and like grimacing every time he's about to die. And he ends up, of course, coming back and winning the whole damn thing. And then that's when the Harpies attack. He's back in her good graces. I'm just guessing that he will survive next season some and maybe find a cure and remain on her council. She's still got to have kind of a knight on her council, so I believe he may end up back on her council, but we'll see how that happens and how they deal with the grayscale. But then, of course, the big scene, and this was actually fucking awesome. So this kind of offset, this awesome scene kind of offset the horrible scene of the story, although you can't really make up for that. The Harpies attack, and she's forced down the center of the pits. Of course, we had seen this screenshot in the preview, and Tyrion's down there with her. They all end up down kind of in the center trap because they can't get out through the doorways. The Harpies surround them, and then she grabs Missandei's hand, basically shutting her eyes, preparing to die because they're so overwhelmed. And then, of course, you hear Drogon. So Drogon comes swooping in. He's already burning people up top and swooping around. He smelled the death, and he comes back and he realizes, hey, my mama's down there. So he goes down, he starts burning the fuck out of harpies. They start throwing spears at him, so he's getting hurt, although those little spears are not going to do much to a dragon. But she realizes the best thing to do, I think, was to get him out of there. He wasn't going to leave until she was safe. So she walks up to him, he screams in her face, and they had this little touching moment where she raises her hand and pets him again. Then she climbs aboard and flies off. Overall, it was a great episode and a horrible episode. So it was one of those duality things they always have, and you had this title, The Dance with Dragons, with very literal and figurative meanings. So again, my question for you guys is, what do you think now of the whole situation with Stannis and him burning Shireen alive? Is there any little speck of credibility left with him? Is that just something that's beyond forgivable as far as the character goes? And now what do you want to see happen in the North with Ramsay and the Boltons, who you already hate, and now Stannis the child murderer, who you now hate again, I guess. So let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment in the section below. Feel free to hit me up on Facebook and Twitter as well, at SmokescreenVids, and Facebook.com/SmokescreenVids. If you haven't seen it already, click here for my episode 8 review, Hardhome, and click here for the Lady Stoneheart video I did last week. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.